Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhaled frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, good day, Tokers and Tokats. Welcome to a special late night live edition of Toker Talk Radio. It's 7 o'clock out here in the Pacific Time Zone. I'm hanging out here with Urb Thrasher.
What's going on, everyone, man? Glad to finally maybe sit in on a Toker Talk Radio edition.
Yeah.
Got to have him late to get old Urb Thrasher in here.
That's right.
You got to get old Kevin Sabet in on there, making himself look really, I don't want to say it.
Yeah, we'll talk all about that.
Awesome.
And then we got Leftwing Larry hanging out, too.
Yeah, I'm here.
Larry was down there with me, and Larry took notes. Larry's not messing around. Larry took
I scribbled notes.
Yeah. So we are going to be going over what you saw in the last hour. And if you didn't see it, Kevin Sabet, the Joker to my Batman. Oh, and by the way, I'm filling out the rest of them, right? Kevin Sabet's the Joker, right? And Patrick Kennedy's the Riddler.
Oh.
And Chris Christie is the Penguin.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude. I mean, that is just beautiful. I'm going to have to Photoshop that one.
Yeah, please do. Please
I will.
So anyway, Kevin Sabet was in Oregon today, in Salem, at our state house, where he was invited to testify to explain, you know, what is the latest science and policy on marijuana legalization. It was an informational, invitation-only hearing, so nobody from the public, a.k.a. me, or anyone, was able to testify live, like was able to get on the mic and speak or able to ask questions or anything, right? It was just basically, we're going to get a bunch of senators and representatives in the panel and listen to Kevin Sabet do his presentation for an hour. That was it. That was the whole gig, right? And so Kevin Sabet gave his presentation. It was live on the Oregon government website, live streaming. We recorded it as well. We had Brian the Red in here running the studio. He got the recording of it. It will be posted up on my Radical Russ YouTube channel, and it'll also be posted up at 420 Radio later once we're able to get that processed and put that up there. But so we were down there in Salem today at 2 in the afternoon, and so driving back from Salem, of course, made it impossible for us to do Russ Belville Show or Toker Talk Radio. So we were driving on the way back, me and Larry, and said, well, I can do Toker Talk Radio when we get back and do it at 7 o'clock and then just go right into Urb Thrasher Flower Hour. So that's why we're here. So if you were watching and or listening to the Kevin Sabet presentation and you'd like to chime in on it with us as we deconstruct it, you're welcome to call in on that number right above Urb's head there, 971-533-7111. Although I am going to have to sign in. I just realized that I had that's Brian's sign in there. So let's make sure we're signed in so you can actually call. But anyway, yeah, you can call 971-533-7111 if you have any comments, questions, or anything like that. I thought it was a rousing success. When I first got there, I had a chance to sit there for a while and speak with Noelle Crombie from the Oregonian.
I was hoping she was there.
She was there, and she's the reporter at the Oregonian who covers the marijuana beat pretty much. So she's often, and she's very even-handed about it.
I feel like she is.
Yeah, she's pretty fair, and she puts, pretty good reports out there, right? So I had a chance to sit there and talk to her for a while and sit and debunk a few of Kevin Sabet. She asked me a few questions. I don't even remember what they were, but I sat and debunked it. And so I started telling her about the Denver station doing, which will launch in March, by the way, KTHC Denver, 24-hour marijuana station, and she thought that was very, very fascinating and said, I've been meaning to do a profile on you for a while. Let's get together before you leave town and do a profile.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, so I'm going to be profiled in Oregon's largest paper as I head out to Denver to build the marijuana media empire I've always dreamed of, I guess. So anyway, sitting there talking to Noelle for a while, I gave her a copy. I took with me my Kevin Sabet debunk guide, which was 14 pages. It was actually 7 pages front and back. And you can get it. If you want this debunk guide, it's for sale up at our 420 radio shop. It's just 99 cents. Just helps me to cover the cost. I printed out 100 black and white copies and 18 full color copies for the senators and representatives. So, spend some money this week to make those copies. So if you'd kick back a little by buying a 99-cent copy of this, I'd really appreciate it. But it's just really simple, right? It's just 14 pages and big type and simple language with charts and graphs to help you make the point. So anytime Kevin Sabet comes to your neighborhood, he's coming to your legislature, trying to convince your parents or whatever to support keeping us criminals here, well, you can refer to this and you'll have all the talking points you'll need. So we are going to do that. We're also going to go through pretty much all of the Kevin Sabet testimony here. And I'll show some of the slides as we're going through it too.
Okay.
Or actually my rebuttal slides, once we get to some of the stuff there. But we're first going to take a break because it's been the first time all day I've had a chance to bob my effing head.
Me too.
That's very, very important. Don't forget, Urb Thrasher Flower Hour is coming up live next at 8 p.m. Me and Urb will be here for 2 hours doing some rock. And then at 10 o'clock, 2 hours of Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink. Great episodes coming up tonight. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today. 420 Radio, the activist radio station. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activists to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today.
Welcome back, everybody. Toker Talk Radio. It's 10 after the hour. That's music from Swank Sinatra. Silverback on air there. We're hanging out with Urb Thrasher.
How you doing, everyone?
And then we got Leftwing Larry.
Hello there.
So we'll start with Leftwing Larry because he was there at the testifying from Kevin Sabet. And before Kevin even started, Larry warned me. He said, you know, I might have to get up in the middle of this and walk out if he becomes too much to bear. But to your credit, you stayed the whole time.
I stayed the whole time, and I was blown away.
All right. So had you ever actually seen him before? You just heard me talk about him?
Okay. That's the only time I've ever seen the man. Had never heard him speak. Of course, I'd seen him on television and interviews and things like that. And I'll tell you, my gut feeling is, at the end of it, at the very end, he threw in the towel.
Pretty much.
I mean, he just more or less gave the fuck up.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was.
There was, at the very end, and I did live tweeting of this, so you've got notes in your, and I've got my live tweets that I did. And I'm just going to back up a little to the end of the day, which was, the very last thing was Senator Przansky, who's our champion.
Exactly.
He's our guy in the legislature.
He was a man amongst a boy today.
Yeah. Przansky at the very end asks, where does your funding come from? And Kevin Sabet says, Project Sam is all volunteer. That wasn't the question. The question was, where does your funding come from? And he goes on to say he's all volunteer, right? Well, okay, first of all, we're talking about volunteers like Patrick Kennedy, who's quite rich, right? So, you know, I'll put my volunteers, you know, with handicaps and living on food stamps and disability up against your volunteers any day for volunteers.
Right.
But that aside, right? Did United Airlines volunteer to fly you out? You know, did the Hyatt volunteer to put you up? I mean, something's paying for that. That's what the question is. And he dodged the question.
Where's your funding coming from?
Yeah. But Representative Taylor, I don't know if Taylor's a representative or a senator. I was saving characters, so I didn't tweet.
Well, I saw a tweet, and I can go back and look it up if I have to, but to where the police sponsored him.
Oh. The law enforcement asked him to come out.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm thinking that would be where his funding came from.
Yeah.
To come out here.
That could be. But the note that I left here was, because this was all the question and answer stuff at the end, right? And it's always interesting to listen to Sabet, you know, when he's not on TV, because when he's on TV, he's got to do the 6-second soundbite, and he doesn't really waver from it much. But in a long form thing, he is always countering the logical thing you're thinking about what he's saying before you come out and say it and embarrass him. Right. Like he'll open things up with like, no, look, we're not talking about like everybody's going to go to the emergency room because of pot. Well, no, it's not like we're saying that, you know, prohibition's good or anything, right? He's always It's always on the defense. He's always on the back pedal. But it's just the question from Taylor was, because throughout this, he had to keep minimizing that, you know. Now, we don't have, there's nothing wrong with, you know, if some 50-year-old wants to smoke a joint, afterward. That's not who we're going after. And frankly, we don't really go after them anyway, because so few people are in prison for mere possession, and it's decriminalized. And it's really, you know, if what we're saying here is that, you know, we should leave the 50-year-old guy alone and, you know, get the cops off his back, I'd argue that's what we're doing already. That's just the status quo, right? That's he kept saying that through the whole thing. Right? So at the very end, the trap is laid and sprung by Taylor, who says, your premise is, where is it? Oh, I lost it. But he basically said that your premise is that there's really no big deal about the adult who's using it in the privacy of his home, but to get it, he has to go to a criminal.
Exactly.
And Sabet was like, well,
he said black market.
Black market, yeah, the black market. But he still has to go to the black market. And that is the biggest glaring flaw of Project Sam, is that it does minor cosmetic changes to how we treat users and does nothing about growers and sellers and traffickers. They still get exactly the same book thrown at them. You know,
it's still a felony to them.
Yeah, it doesn't propose anything that changes there being a criminal market. And so that's what I think, the senators and representatives that were listening there came to their, realized that, wait a minute, this, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. I also loved Representative Hicks, who brought up littering. Remember that? Don't mess with Texas?
Texas.
Oh,
don't mess
beautiful.
with Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. He brings up, there was a big problem with littering in the 70s and all, and Texas Department of, Public Works or whatever came up with the Don't Mess with Texas campaign that was so popular, it lives now even beyond people don't even know it was an anti-littering campaign. But it was. Right. It was very successful, and it brought littering down. And he said because, it changed the morality. It made people, change their attitudes about littering. Why wouldn't that work with marijuana? Mm-hmm. And so that's where he had to say, well, there's nobody out there that's pro-littering. There's nobody out there that's out there saying that there ought to be littering and littering is not really bad, unlike marijuana. Which Jennifer Alexander on Facebook actually came up with a good response to that. She said, well, actually, there are people that are pro-littering, but not in the way that you're thinking. There are people that are litter harm reductionists who promote recycling and curbside pickups and also biodegradable products.
All those guys in orange suits out there picking it up on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We also used that one on the tobacco too. He was like, I don't know any pro tobacco groups around there that's actually doing this.
Yeah. And it's just fascinating his responses, and the other one where he got caught was at the end when one of the guys was talking to him about, as the chairman, I think, who was talking to him about, I saw Ken Burns' Prohibition documentary. And I love that Ken Burns' Prohibition documentary. And one of the things it said was it was easier to get beer during Prohibition than it was during, after Prohibition, because now that it was regulated and all. Why wouldn't that work for marijuana?
Oh, that's different.
And Kevin Sabet says, well, alcohol prohibition wasn't really, illegal like marijuana is illegal. It was really more like decriminalization, which made everyone in the hearing room think, you mean like Oregon is decriminalized? Okay, go on. And so he says it's really not the same because, alcohol, it's apples and oranges.
Right. It was the old apples and oranges.
It's like, so when it comes to the effects of prohibitionary policy, we can't compare marijuana and alcohol. But when it comes to the tax money we'd raise and the social harms, then we can compare them all day. When it comes to the arrests that will happen, all day we can talk about the arrests from alcohol and marijuana. It's not apples and oranges over there, but when it's uncomfortable for him, well, now it's apples and oranges, ain't it?
Right. It's actually right in his, right in here somewhere about the alcohol and tobacco. I mean, he's the one bringing it up.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, you opened that door.
You opened the door, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Hicks comes back and says, yeah, I think the tobacco is an even better example. We've got so many fewer people using tobacco. This is one of my favorite Kevin Sabet things. This was the opener. His opening slide was his slide about how we need to keep marijuana illegal because keeping it illegal keeps more people from using it. If it were legal, more people would use it. It's got to be illegal so more people won't use it. And the proof is, here's a slide. 55% of Americans drink and 23% of Americans smoke and only 7% of the people use marijuana. See, those two are legal, therefore more people are using them. Well, Kevin, then how come back in the 80s, even more people were drinking and smoking and it's gone way down since then? It's not been made illegal. It's been legal the whole time. How is it that the use of the two legal drugs are dropping and the use of marijuana is kind of plateaued?
It's called more control.
It's just,
I've never seen anyone stick their foot in their mouth more. I mean, he's like, at first he'd be like dog in Oregon or something, and then the next sentence would be, but Oregonians are smart. This state is smart. You know what I mean? He's that arguer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He just does that. He kicks himself in the rear end.
Yeah, it's funny as hell. And
he did it, I think, a lot more today than
I really did too. No, I came out of that just gleeing with joy, man. I mean, we couldn't have asked for anything better almost. I mean, that was right in front of the boys. And I do think, though, that our crew, the Oregon Senators, I think they went in there and they knew. They were hoping he was going to say something that was going to be different, something that would change. And, dude, by the end of it, when he gave them stuff that this state was arguing 10 years ago.
Yeah, he starts talking about medical marijuana. We don't have to smoke it or eat it or vaporize it. Get out of town. Hey, it's 20 after, so we're going to take a break. Happy 420 to our friends in Hawaii. I think it's 420 in Hawaii. It's always 420 in Hawaii. We're going to dab. We'll see you in a minute. It's a little after 7:10 for us. Time for us to dab.
Ever met that funny reefer man? If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out lushledlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting. You know Urb Thrasher from the Urb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, home of the famous lighter leash. Herb Age Designs, get your Herb Age t-shirts and hoodies and show your pride. Herb Age Designs, we've got frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Urb Thrasher on Twitter. We'll see you at this year's Hemp Fest. Crank it up. Getting High with Adam Ill from Los Angeles, California. Every Friday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. GMT, right here on 420radio.org.
We came here to get you high. 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 We came here to get you high.
Yeah, I think Be Real's right. Woo! A little too high. Woohoo! We definitely had a 7:10 break, didn't we?
Speaking of Be Real, I saw that he was named High Times Stoner of the Year.
Well deserved. Be Real's for real.
He's for real.
Real is right there in his name.
He's for real. I'd like to see him maybe step out of the box next year, though. High Times.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. You mean outside of like celebrities and
outside of Be Real?
Yeah. Well, he does a lot.
He does, dude. He does, but he's been with them forever, dude. And please, no one. I don't want any emails. I love Be Real. I mean, this is not against Be Real, but there's just so many activists out there. So many activists out there, and that's the point I want to say.
All right. He's done those spring gatherings, those events. I've done
does a show every day. I mean, I follow Be Real. I love Be Real. I follow. It's not a Be Real issue.
Right on. And you know what I think it is sometimes too is they have to kind of coordinate who's getting what award at what time for what event they're at that is available to be there.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So there might be a scheduling thing too. Not to say that he's not deserving. Just saying like you got a list of 5-6 people that might be in consideration, and one of them can be at your event and pick up the award or something. Maybe that's the person you pick.
I get that. And that's fair.
And again, it's not to say one is better.
Definitely wasn't in that meeting. So please, anyone, Bobby Black, dude, Danny Danko, come on, dude, I love you guys, man. It was about the activists, I swear.
That's right. Well, it is, isn't it Stoner of the Year, though?
It is Stoner of the Year, and he is deserving Stoner of the Year.
Freedom Fighter of the Year, which I think maybe they saved that for the activist.
All right.
We'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Good point.
Yep.
All right, well, we're hanging out here at Toker Talk Radio, and today I was down in Salem bringing a live coverage of Kevin Sabet's presentation to the Oregon Legislature. It was a joint committee, House Judiciary and Senate Judiciary. And you know me, if there's going to be a joint committee, I'm there. Is House and
We saw
Senate.
you guys had a front row seat.
Oh, yeah.
How did you manage to kind of score up? And what was the inside? See, that's something for those of us who were watching. Was it packed? I mean, was there an energy in there? What was it like?
Yes.
It wasn't.
I got pictures of the house.
Yeah. It wasn't. There were still a couple of empty seats, maybe 3 or 4. But there was also people standing who didn't apparently want to be, sitting with the other folks. But whatever. There were some obvious activists. The one guy who got, called out, who was grumbling the whole time and saying things under his breath and making comments and stuff. But other than that, everybody was very respectful. But I think definitely our people, and even the law enforcement guys, and some of the straight people that were there, to I guess call them that. I don't think we're swayed any. I think this Kevin Sabet stuff works if it's, back east, down south, Midwest, lawmakers like Clell Bodler, who actually really do believe that marijuana is a gateway drug and you're going to go to hell and all that. But out here in Oregon, half those folks probably light up a bowl. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I do. I mean, I was
rooting for the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, really.
It really was unbelievable to me. And I won't say he was unprepared, but he was unprepared because it was like he can't bring that same shtick out west. You just can't do it. And I bet he right now, I don't know where he is right now, but he's feeling, he's probably, this is a different feeling for him tonight.
Yeah. And I'm glad to be a part of that.
Up.
Yeah. Anything I can do to help make him feel a little more uncomfortable is always part of my day. So this is my second time being around him doing his thing. And it's always fun to watch because, the lack of internal consistency within his own arguments damns his position. That whole apples oranges when it's convenient, but not when it's not convenient, those kind of tricks that anybody with simple understanding of rhetoric and logic can pick apart. And our legislators aren't dummies. Our legislators have worked with, the medical marijuana issue, since 1998 and have seen their share of the true believers in marijuana. They've seen the share of the fringe on our side, right? Mm-hmm. But they've also worked with the people who are the really serious shirt and tie guys with the serious educations that can, tell them, here's what you need to see as far as a study, and here's what you need to see as far as a policy, for years now.
That's right.
And really, the legislature at this point, I think they're more in the frame of, shit, how are we going to get away with doing this? How are we going to pull this off politically?
I agree.
Because the whole thing of, well, we'll send a ballot. See, the thing that Frzansky's talking about is sending just a public policy question. He's just talking about putting a question on the ballot in Oregon for this November that would say, hey, you think we ought to legalize marijuana? Now, if we vote yes, then the ballot would be, okay, now the legislature will go back in the next session in 2015 and start having hearings and committees and writing laws. And then maybe by 2016, they put something else on the ballot. They actually put actual legalization on the ballot that we vote on. So it could be that what we get in 2014 is just us saying, yes, please, get on with it, and not actually being legalized at that point. So that's why it was so classic at the end when Frzansky's wrapping this thing up in a bow saying, look, all we're talking about is turning to our voters and asking them whether or not they want us to even think about this option. And why shouldn't we do that? Why shouldn't we ask the voters for that? And Sabet had to dance around an answer that basically came down to, it's inevitable that legalization is going to be on the ballot. New Approach Oregon, Paul Stanford, either or both of those are going to make the ballot. So it's inevitable it's going to make the ballot, but it's not inevitable that they're going to pass because Washington and Colorado, there's still time for all hell to break loose and for us to see how awful legalization is. And the voters might not pass the activist legalization. Maybe. But if you ask them whether they want legalization, they'll think it's okay to have legalization, and then they'll vote for it. That's really, I can play the tape, but it's really what it came down to. And you could just see the legislators going, well, that means that's meaningless, what you just said.
Well, it was really telling when he mentioned questions and really no one spoke up. At that time, there was like this brief silence. And then the House, he felt like he had to say, well, a lot of us have already seen this, so that's why we don't. He felt like he had to have an excuse for the crowd or something. But that was telling to me at that moment right there when there was this silence. Yeah. 3-4 questions did follow, and great questions too. I wanted more.
Oh yeah, there could be a much longer question thing. And this is one of the other things Sabet's really good at is the filibuster. To talk a lot of cotton candy, fluff it up a lot, so it takes a long time.
Oh, dude, shut him down.
So that you only get a chance to ask 4 or 5 questions, and then time runs out, right? Yep. He's not interested. It's like, a football team with the lead. He wants to just milk the clock, right? He just wants to get out of there without a whole lot of exposure. Because once questions start getting asked, the holes started getting poked.
Don't let that offense on the field.
Yeah, that's right. And let me see if I can find. I love it. By the way, I had to bring this up when Kevin Sabet says, this is that internal consistency thing, right? On the one hand, earlier on in his testimony, he says, why, in Colorado, in Denver, there's more dispensaries than Starbucks. There's more dispensaries than Starbucks. And then later says, well, I don't think the people in Colorado that voted for legalization really knew that they were going to get a bunch of pot shops that advertised. A city full of people driving by dispensaries every day on Colfax did not realize that voting for legalization would mean pot shops. Wow! My head just exploded. The sheer cognitive dissonance is causing the left and right half of my brains to fight one another like a Klingon and a Romulan in a death match. I had to throw a little Star Trek ref in. That's the kind of things, these internal inconsistencies in your own argument. Our argument's pretty consistent. Hey, we like to smoke pot, and we took a look at it, and it's not as bad for you as alcohol, and people don't do stupid shit on it. And that's really pretty safe compared to most anything else you can take.
And we can grow it ourselves.
Why can't we use that instead? Why do we have to be criminals for using that instead? And it's interesting how let me see, I'll find some of the other questions here that they asked, because they were really, really good ones. Let's get to the beginning of questions. Here we go. All right, so there we go. Okay, yeah. So Brzezinski asks that if you're advocating that folks should be able to use at home, wouldn't that force them to buy from the black market? And Sabet says, yes, that means black market sales, but that is the best of all the bad options.
Right, because it keeps the price up.
Yeah, because it keeps the price up.
What his answer was, it keeps the price up.
Right. And he's actually right on this. When you look at and this is, adjusted for inflation, because dollars are worth more and less, right? So you average, level that out. But adjusted for inflation, the price of cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine is much cheaper than it was in the 80s. The price of all the hard, can possibly kill you drugs has come down, and their purity's gone up. The only one of the drugs whose price has gone up significantly is pot. Pot's over 80% more expensive than it was back in the 70s and 80s, pound for pound and dollar for dollar, right? So yeah, prohibition of marijuana makes it much more expensive than it should be. And that's his defense, is that, well, because it's so more expensive, fewer people use it. We've done studies that show cost has a effect on how much people use and how many people will use, which is also probably true. If weed's cheaper and available, you'd probably smoke more of it if you had the option. How many people out there are stretching a bag out, letting it last, and if they had it, they'd be puffing tough. Yeah, so there's a certain argument to that. The question is whether that's relevant.
Unless they're like me.
Unless like Larry's good on that, man. He'll bag last him forever.
Well, he did make sure that he got in the old. Well, this isn't the mama and daddy's weed. Those kids are smoking out there, sirs. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Have you seen
their eyes were just rolling?
Have you seen some of the festivals at Autzen Stadium in the '70s, man?
I actually did see some of the senators up there rolling their eyes.
I bet
they were rolling their eyes.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They went there hoping and they didn't get what they wanted.
Hey, we got a call coming in from the 816 area code. You're on the air with Toker Talk Radio. What's up?
Hey, Russ and Thrasher, and I don't know who's on stage left there. I'm not familiar with it, but I've been watching you guys for a while.
Oh, thanks, man. That's Leftwing Larry. He's my roommate.
Leftwing. All right, good. So, Russ, I thought you were going to be able to get in there today. Did they just shut you down before you were able to speak? Or, how did that work?
Here's the deal: is I'd hoped, hey, if it was possible to speak, that'd be great. But no, this was like an invite hearing. This is like where the two committees are just doing like a fact finding thing. They invite just one person to come in and talk. So it was never on the agenda to have public comment or other testimony. But the committee does take written testimony. So I did submit my written testimony with all the charts and graphs and stuff. So they did get a copy of that. And they had a copy of it before Sabet started speaking. So we'll see how that helps.
Okay. There was nothing mentioned about pharmaceuticals and all the deaths from opiates. I had 2 dead brothers from opiates. None of that was talked about at all in comparison. Sabet, this guy comes off, as he was put up to this, he comes off as a guy that's, it's fine for adults, but there's always a but.
There is.
That
way,
50 years old.
Everybody sits there in a trance. These legislators sit there in a trance because he appeases both sides of their mind, left and right, whatever, and it just looks really put up. Right now, I'm facing 7 years for 6 stinky little plants that amounted to 11.5 grams wet. I'm going to tell you where I live, those legislators would have been eating that stuff up. And when I hear you guys out there saying that, those legislators were sitting there, and they've been through medical, you guys have been through medical and all that, and they're just not buying it. Let me tell you where I'm at in the Midwest. I mean, they would have been, he would have got a round of applause.
Yes.
But,
yes.
And that's why it's different to listen to you guys,
and that's why we do this, man. That's why we.
Listen, I appreciate 420 Radio and Russ and everybody, and Leftwing and Urb Thrasher, Thrash Away.
Right on, brother. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate everything you guys do. You guys are helping me. I'm looking at time. I'm hoping it's not going to happen. 11.5 grams. I shouldn't do 7 years on a first offense, but, we'll see what happens in March.
Yeah.
What was that? How many plants?
I had 6 little dinky indicas. That's wet. They weighed that wet.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll weigh it wet and with dirt clods hanging on it.
Probably.
I got busted many, many years ago in Ohio. I had 1 plant growing on my patio. And now the detective that came and got it, confiscated it, he was laughing as he left. And the reason he was laughing, I come to find out later, I was growing a fucking male.
Oh, God. I laugh. I'm sorry, but Well, it's
I got
funny
$100
because,
fine.
I had just barely sexed these, and I wasn't even 100% sure that all 6 were female, but I was pretty sure. But we're talking 11.5 grams here, dry. What is that? About 5 grams?
Yeah. It's not.
Anyway,
I know you said you're in a
grams.
Midwest state. So does that mean no cultivation, laws, and that's the deal? Is that why you're kind of looking at some serious stuff? Because
they're calling it distribution, but there was no loose weed, no scales, no baggies, no ledgers, no nothing.
That's it. Yeah, that sucks, man. And that's why we do this too. Is that when this guy comes to your state and your state house, the people can go and download exactly what I took to our legislators. That, even if someone's against marijuana, the way I phrase these arguments has nothing to do so much with the marijuana. It has to do with the logical consistency of what he's saying. And so that forces them to at least have to go, well, wait a minute. How does that work? And as soon as there's an element of doubt, we're gonna win this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, it was kind of a bad deal, but at any rate, I'm just saying, Prohibition is alive and well in the Midwest, big time. So everything you guys do really makes a big difference. So
we're keeping on, brother.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for working late tonight, and I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for calling in, and good luck to you. Hope everything goes well.
Yeah,
I think it'll be all right.
Good luck in court there.
Keep us posted.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
Take care. Yeah, that's why we're here, man. That's why we do these shows, is because, and that's why, you know, the vision has always been that, you know, voice of the marijuana nation, right? Just because we got it good in Oregon and Colorado and California and Washington and, you know, some other states, doesn't mean we forget our brothers and sisters out there hanging tough in, you know, Iowa, Wisconsin, Florida.
Although
we want to hear all the
they've
voices.
Got some good news down there.
We want to hear all the voices so that we all know what's happening. Stick around. We'll be right back. I'll take a break.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Cast your eyes up to the skies. What is it to live and die?
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Well, I was sitting in my living room, sparking up a bowl. You won't believe what happened next. Well, the cops kicked down my door with the guns waving in the air. I thought I'd best say a little prayer, and I knew something just wasn't right when he pulled me from my chair. He said it was a drug bust. I had the feeling it was unjust. I said, I think you got the wrong fella, guys. I only smoke the stuff. He threw me down on the ground, so I asked him for a reach around. I may as well get jerked off, cause it looks like I'm getting fucked.
That goes to our listener out there in the Midwest.
Right.
Chief Greenbud with the drug bust. Oh, my God.
Awful story.
That's just, you know, that's the thing.
I hate to hear that about our teammates out there, our freaking warriors.
But that's why we do what we do, and you know we're gonna spread this wave eastward. It's gonna be inevitable. This is the thing: is that understand this. If you look back through history, right now, alcohol prohibition, there is a lot of differences actually. First of all, it didn't last very long, right? 13 years. While this one's lasted,
years, yeah.
you know, 80 or so. But the one thing about it is in 1929, there was I forget if he's a rep or a senator, congressman or senator, but who said, on the record that I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it exact, but the chance of prohibition being repealed is this: you'll sooner see a hummingbird fly to Mars with the Washington Monument tied to its tail. Mm-hmm. That was the quote. That was 1929. 1933, prohibition was repealed. Right? It only took 4 years. And involvement of women, really is
huge.
What did it.
We all know that.
And that's happening now. Now we've got 2 states that have legalized, and we got the country of Uruguay that's legalized, right? So this is no longer an academic debate. It is a policy showdown. Now the states that have legalization can say, hey, look, we're doing $1 million of business a day that's getting taxed 10% sales, 15% excise. 10%, that's 25%, $1 million. That's what, $250,000?
Well, that's one of his myths.
A quarter?
That alcohol and tobacco legalization teaches us there is no money in this for anyone other than big marijuana.
Yeah, this is the flaw in the argument. Every day in Colorado now, it's going on 17 days, 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks, that they've been open, these pot shops. They're, first of all, restricting supply because they're starting to run out because of the whole medical thing, and that's a whole other issue. But $1 million a day, tax it 10% and 15% is $250,000 a day going into the tax funds. That's $1.25 million a week on a 5-day week. It's $1.5 million on a 6-day week. How many states out there are going, wait a minute, what? $1.5 million tax dollars a week?
Especially one that doesn't have any income tax.
6 million. Yeah, that's
not income tax. Well, Florida has no income tax.
Yeah.
Here we have no sales tax.
Right, right. And they can't, these legislators, they got to be practical. Like, hey, man, I'd like to get some bridges fixed in my county and shit. I have an idea. How about we get that $1.5 million tax revenue? There's an idea. So, yeah, his chances here in Oregon are pretty slim to none. Let me see if I can find another Sabetism to attack.
How about number one?
Oh, I love how he said that one of the senators or representatives asked, well, what if the legislature wrote... Oh, no, actually, he rhetorically asked the question to himself in his presentation. Well, what if the legislature writes the legalization? Then he comes back and says, well, but if it's like Colorado, it's all bets are off because they didn't work with the activists. And I was stunned by that because do you know how many work groups there were and how many different activists were involved directly and made concessions and negotiated stuff with the government there in Colorado? That's been one of the stories. This has been like on the political websites. This has been the punditry are saying, hey, how come in Colorado the government had a mayor, a governor, the legislature who did not want legalization to pass, totally against it. But once it did pass, they worked with the stakeholders and law enforcement and everybody all worked together to make it work. And so they point to the U.S. Congress and go, well, how come this doesn't work, in the U.S. Congress, where you guys disagree, but at least once something's passed, like Obamacare, you work together to make the damn thing work now that it's passed, right? Instead of futilely trying to overturn it, right? So this has been a story in governance, in political wonkery circles of, oh my gosh, government and the people working together so well. And Sabet wants to come in and say, oh, yeah, they didn't work together at all. It was awful. He did bring up, Kevin Sabet brought up the advertising thing and said, and the governor tried to do something sensible by putting these pot magazines behind the counter, where some kid wouldn't, find up against them and have to see, the marijuana and all that. And as soon as he tried to do that, the ACLU stepped in to sue him for the First Amendment. Right? So this is where he tried to put pot magazines behind the counter like porn. Right? Mm-hmm. The problem with that, of course, is pot is not obscene. It is a flower. Right? Now, I have my problems with, definitions of obscenity too, but that's a whole nother rant. But this was, I think the legislators are thinking, no, wait a minute. I take my kid to the store to the mall, wherever, and the kid is bombarded with bikini girls on the fitness magazines and very sexualized images in the magazines and the sugary cereals on the bottom aisle that are, entrancing the kids, luring them in, the gateway drug, whatever, right? All these things. But oh my God, if they saw a pot plant, if they saw a magazine where there was pot in it, why they might think it's just a plant.
Instead of like that amber liquid.
Yeah. So this is the nonsense that was going on there in Oregon today. And I'll have this posted up on my YouTube page at Radical Russ just as soon as I can.
How come his buddy Kennedy doesn't travel with him? Or does he? Is this just a one-time?
Kennedy,
does he kind of go with him sometimes? Or is Kennedy kind of behind the scenes and just a money man?
I pretty much just see Kennedy on the East Coast, circuit. I don't see him traveling much, no. No, he's got his other thing that he does with mental health. And this is Sabet's only thing.
Yeah.
Right. Kennedy's got other things that he's doing.
I see.
But this is he also had this point where he tried to say that, and this is on one of his slides, that legalizers say if we legalize marijuana, cops will be freed up to go after real criminals. But that's not really true, because alcohol's legal, yet there's 2.5 million arrests for alcohol violations. The argument being that if we legalize marijuana, cops wouldn't be freed up because they'd have to prosecute, they'd have to go after people that were breaking marijuana laws. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, how does this make any sense unless what you're suggesting is cops would have to be carding kids at the pot shops? Because the cops right now, if they happen upon a person and happen to figure out that they've got weed on them, they must do something about that. Cops must engage that, even if it's just a ticket here in Oregon. But if it's more, if it's a plant in someone's house. Cop comes on a domestic disturbance call. In the house, he notices there's a grow light in the closet and a plant. Now it's not so much about the woman who's been beat up here, but it's about this drug felony that's going on. And he must deal with that. How does this... And so now we're going to take that possibility away, where a plant in the closet he wouldn't give a damn about it. Now he can focus his full time on the woman who's just called in 911 because she's getting slapped around. How does that not make us a better society? And I hope our legislators are smart enough to see those kind of things.
Man, I feel I feel more confident today than I ever have in our legislator. I really do.
Yeah, it felt really good. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and close things up in our final segment. And remember, you'll be able to check out the Kevin Sabet replay on our weekend editions of the Russ Belville Show. So on Saturday, that'll be on 7 p.m. Pacific. And on Sunday, it will be on... Where'd it go? Sunday, it will be on at 1 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to see Kevin Sabet's testimony in his Hemin and Han... And he's gotten rather large lately. How is it I'm the one that smokes pot all the time? I've stayed the same weight. He's gotten fatter than me now. How does that work? All right, we'll be back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
Are you or is someone you know a marijuana smoker? Have you or is someone in your family been arrested for a marijuana violation? You need to know the truth about pot. NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, is the most comprehensive source of information regarding marijuana and its effects on health, as well as legal issues. NORML even offers a database of lawyers specializing in cannabis in your area. NORML, the nation's largest and most successful marijuana law reform organization, has spent decades gathering the knowledge and science on everything related to cannabis. NORML is the best resource to find out the truth about marijuana, connect with a lawyer in your area, or help find an end to prohibition. Information is available at norml.org, that's NORML.org, or toll free at 888-67-NORML.
Weed Porn Daily with Oscar Diaz from Florida every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 7 p.m. GMT, right here on 420radio.org. Marijuana and alcohol are the two most popular recreational drugs in America. Marijuana smoking is non-toxic, relatively safe, and has a low risk of dependence. Alcohol drinking is potentially fatal, dangerous to society, and is quite addictive. Marijuana is safer, so why are we driving people to drink? That's the question of the new book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? By Paul Armentano, Mason Tvert, and Steve Fox. Visit Amazon.com or ChelseaGreen.com today to order your copy of Marijuana is Safer, or visit marijuanaissafer.com.
Well, that's rather appropriate to come in on. We haven't quite reached our mandatory moment yet, but it is quite mandatory, apparently. Yeah, there we go. That's some Urb Thrasher metal. We're going to be doing the Urb Thrasher Flower Hour coming up next. Top of the hour, me and Urb.
A special guest tonight, John Uriah from the Slayer family, guitar tech.
Guitar tech from Slayer?
Yeah, interested to get his feel and see what's up with him and everything he does.
That'll be awesome. All right, we're going to do that coming up next, so stay tuned. And thanks for joining us for this late edition of Toker Talk Radio. We're usually on live at 5 p.m. Pacific, or 4 p.m. Pacific, excuse me. But I was down in Salem doing the coverage of Kevin Sabet appearing at the Oregon Legislature. You can see his appearance at the legislature on our YouTube channel, Radical Russ on YouTube. But it probably won't be up there until later tonight, so you might check it tomorrow. It'll be up there. If you're interested in defending your state and informing your legislators about the tricks and lies and misdirections and misstatements and half-truth this guy uses, this is the show you want to see. See him in action. Download from the 420 Radio shop. We've got the slides you need to defeat everything he says. It's up there. You can download it. 99 cents. Helps us keep paying the bills here and keep printing those things out. Like, I spent some money today printing those out. 100 copies went out to the audience. Everybody got a copy. Everybody listening to them was looking over the graphs and charts that disprove everything he was just saying. So we're quite happy about that.
Education.
That's what it's all about, because that's how we win this.
That is how we win it.
We win by education. All right, that's all the time we got here for Toker Talk Radio. Thanks for joining us. Join us next week, all week long, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, with replays at 6 and 9 o'clock, that's a.m. and p.m., right here on 420radio.org. You can get us on your mobile device. Go to tunein.com and download the app. For Urb Thrasher, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it. smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it.